Obama, the Pharaoh and forerunner, little horn. In this video, we're going to discuss the Ezekiel 31 prophecy and update based on recent development, so we can be very, very clear on the prophecies and everything in this channel as we bring it to a conclusion. Now, how you search the channel, guys, is just search Leland Jones or whatever it is you're looking for. In this case, we're looking at Obama, the Pharaoh. Okay, so he did have a role, and there's a video you can see. Obama, leopard goat, posted September 12, 2016. This is my last video for international travel and before the elections in 2016. So the Antichrist was not here. So is he still the Pharaoh? What is his role as a Pharaoh? What is the forerunner role? We're going to explain in the video. But as well, we want to go over and make very, very clear every prophecy shared on this channel. So remember a few years ago how Obama was viewed as this Pharaoh type figure. He went to Egypt and he looked like different pharaohs. Okay, so yes, he had a role, and there's also a role of the Assyrian. There's a succession of Assyrians, but then there's a final Assyrian who is the Antichrist. So there is a forerunner role that Obama played, and we're going to discuss that in this video along with other developments. Okay, guys, when we go to begin discussing what we're going to talk about in this video, keep in mind that the message has been going on for almost 7 years, okay? So in those time period, what we're trying to do is spend a lot of time explaining the fact that there is a forerunner Antichrist, okay? So just like Christ came, and there was a forerunner, as we know, as John the Baptist, and then you have Jesus Christ being the true Messiah, that in the end of days, there will be a forerunner figure to the Antichrist, okay? Now, most, and keep in mind, this is partly political, yes. So how politics works, you have both sides, left and right, okay? Now, of course, the Christians that begin worshiping the beast and the apostate Christians that have a political view, okay, what the setup was that the forerunner Antichrist would swing everything to the left, okay? So we have two terms, he'd be to the left, and that would get all the Christians' attention. Obama is the Antichrist. Obama is the Antichrist, okay? The left and the political, okay, whole situation, swinging the people in one direction so that when the pendulum swings the other way, they will clamor for a Messiah. Okay, when they clamor for the Messiah will be a right-wing political figure, okay? So the pendulum would swing, and the beast would use this in his advantage to say, oh, you know, Obama's terrible, left-wing, he is the Antichrist, okay? Well, he had a role. His role worked perfectly, okay? Because now then you can see once the true Antichrist came, all the Christians voted for the Antichrist. Why? Because they are right-wing. They're political in their views. Not identifying that doesn't matter how you vote. It's still the beast. So, guys, politics is all beast worship. It is in the prophecy about certain things about the Antichrist, okay? So, what we were doing earlier in the channel was explaining Obama's role as this forerunner figure, as this Pharaoh, okay? We do have a whole playlist called Obama the Little Horn. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't make sense because the little horn is the Antichrist. But what we're explaining is there's a forerunner little horn. If you go to the playlist, Obama Little Horn, you'll see all these videos going back 6 years, as that's how long we've been teaching to explain this concept of the Antichrist forerunner figure, okay? So it's important you understand all that before we actually look into the prophecy, because back then we didn't know who the Antichrist was. We didn't say Obama was the Antichrist. We never said Obama was the Antichrist. We said he was a forerunner little horn. Let's just explain a little bit about that briefly. The whole playlist will explain all that, guys. I just want to explain to you in the prophecy of Daniel how he is this forerunner. Okay, you can see this succession of U.S. presidents in Daniel chapter 8. And there was a he-goat that waxed great and came strong. A great horn was broken into 4 notable ones, and out of them came forth a little horn which waxed exceedingly great towards the south, towards the east, and towards the pleasant land. It waxed great even to the host of heaven, cast down some of the stars to the ground. Okay? So this figure here we can see that he went towards the four winds of heaven in verse 8, okay? Now, the four winds of heaven, if we say that in Hebrew, we say arba, four, and winds is ruach, or spirit, okay, of the heavens, shamayim, okay? So it's the four arba, okay, ruach. So these are the four spirits of the heavens. Now, these are the four spirits of the heavens that we know to be the four horse riders from Zechariah chapter 6, okay? So what this is saying is that there's a little horn that arises out of the seal judgments, okay? So those seal judgments were released back in 2014. So that's when Obama was on the scene, okay? Then he had a trigger event, casting down the host, okay? He had a role, and we explained that. In fact, we'll show you a couple clips of what he did to trigger Daniel's timeline.
This week, Michelle Bachmann actually predicted that I would bring about the biblical end of days. Now that's a legacy. That's big. I mean, Lincoln, Washington, they didn't do that.
The Kenyan people have shown incredible resolve and remarkable resilience. I also want to pay tribute to the sacrifices of Kenyan forces who serve in the African Union-led mission against al-Shabaab in Somalia. The Kenyan people have shown incredible resolve and remarkable resilience. I also want to pay tribute to the sacrifices of Kenyan forces who serve in the African Union-led mission against al-Shabaab in Somalia. And to thank
Okay, now we also want to explain that he did have a role in Daniel chapter 8 as it relates to the end days. His power is mighty, not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully and prosper and practice and destroy the mighty and holy people. Okay, now, both Obama did this and the Antichrist did this as well. Obama went to speak at the 500-year anniversary of Martin Luther. Okay, he was invited by the apostate Christians. So he also, on that, keep in mind the left-wing paradigm, okay? So the European Union and the Angela Merkel was there, invited Obama after his presidency, okay? So this is examples of how Obama fulfilled some of his role. Now, let's go to Ezekiel 31 and look at why we see him as this Pharaoh. Okay, so it came to pass in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, in the 1st day of the month. All right, today is the 13th day of the 2nd month. So basically, we're in this 11th year now. Okay, so what we were identifying was that in this time period, now this is going back 5 years ago, what we were saying was, in this time period of the 11th year, in the 3rd month, and the 1st day of the month, that this prophecy in Ezekiel 38 would apply to Pharaoh. Okay? So let's look what it says. Son of man, speak unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his multitude, who are like you in your greatness. All right, so here we can see a prophecy clearly identifying the Pharaoh type figure. Again, we're identifying that as a forerunner. Behold, the Assyrian was a cedar in Lebanon. Now, what we were doing is we were looking at the prophecy of the cedar tree as applying to the Pharaoh. Okay, and not only that, we would apply that to that date, the 11th year, the 1st day of the 3rd month. Okay, so this is what it says about the tree. Behold, the Assyrian was a cedar at Lebanon with fair branches and shadowing, a branch of high stature, and its top was among the thick burrows. The waters are made great, And the deep set him on high, and the rivers about, and the plants and the rivers and the trees of the field. Therefore his height was exalted above all the trees of the field and the burrows, and multiplied his branches, and become long in his multitude. Of the waters he set forth. All the fowls of the heaven came and made their nests in his burrows and his branches, and all the beasts of the field came forth, and their young under his shadow dwelt all the great nations. Thus was he fair in his greatness, and his length with the branches, and his root was by the great waters. The cedars of the garden of God could not hide him. The fir trees were like unto his burrows, and his chestnut trees were like unto his branches, and nor any tree in the garden of God was like unto him in his beauty. Okay? And I made him fair by the multitude of his branches, and the trees of Eden that were in the garden of God envied him. Therefore thus says God, behold, you have lifted up yourself on high, and have shot out at the top among the thick burrows. Okay, so then we have this whole prophecy related to the tree. Okay, now, back then we were trying to explain Obama's figure in ascribing that tree to him. Okay, but you can also see what it says. It talks about the Pharaoh. It talks about this Assyrian. Then we began to learn, and it began to be very clear that the cutting off of the branches of this tree was actually Nebuchadnezzar. It was a different person, a different role. It was not this forerunner role. It was the Nebuchadnezzar type figure that we see in Daniel chapter 4. So in Daniel chapter 4, we begin to see clearly that in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, there was a great tree. Okay, let's go to Daniel 4:13. I saw in the vision that came upon the bed, and the watcher of the Holy One came down from heaven, and hewed down the tree and cut off its branches and its leaves and scattered its fruit from under it, under the fowls of the branches. Okay, so here we can see the cutting off of this tree. All right, now this cutting off of this tree, back then we were looking at as, okay, that's when the Antichrist is killed. Okay, that's when, but the cutting off relates to his dominion being taken from him. Okay, so then we saw that in Daniel chapter 7, that there will be a point, okay, we're talking about the little horn. Okay, he shall speak, Daniel chapter 7, verse 25, he shall speak great words against the Most High, and wear out the saints of the Most High, think to change the laws, and give into his hand for a time, times, and dividing a time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. Okay, so they'll take away his dominion. Now, that dominion was taken away, okay, from the Antichrist. Thus, the Antichrist is this tree, okay? That is the tree in Ezekiel 31. It is not the Pharaoh figure, okay? The Pharaoh king of Egypt, okay? So, that's where, what we were doing before, guys, you go back and watch the previous video, we were saying the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt here in Ezekiel 31, because it talks about him going into the grave. Okay, so we were saying in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, and the 1st day of the month, the Pharaoh, okay, will go into the grave. It would be the date of his death, of the forerunner figure, okay? But since we saw Donald Trump have his dominion taken away in the midst of the 42 months, okay, this is talking about Trump. This is talking about Trump losing his dominion, which we could see in Daniel 7. Thus, Trump, as the Antichrist, Nebuchadnezzar, is the one that this is talking about with this tree. Okay? I hope that's clear. These are things that we're just making as clear. Everything, all the prophecies on this channel. So, what do we take from this? Or what do we get from this date? What we get from this date is it came to pass in the 11th year in the 3rd month. Now, this date that is talking about here in Ezekiel 31 is approximately the center section of time of the 42 months of the Antichrist. So the 42 months of the Antichrist, so we just read there in Daniel 7, and in Revelation says 42 months. This is the 21 months. Okay, this is the halfway point. So that's what this is talking about. So we're not necessarily saying that, okay, this is when the Antichrist is going to die. Okay, we're not attributing that date to what's taking place in the prophecy. Okay, that's what we were doing before. We are attributing the date to Pharaoh, king of Egypt. All right. But really, we can see the tree is Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar is the Antichrist. Okay. So I want to do this video to make that clear, that previous prophecy that we talked about in that other video. You can see, guys, I never delete videos. All the prophecies I share on this channel, I leave up. Okay. And there's not very many instances where we have to go back and say, okay, well, since we looked at it that way, now we can see it more clearly like this. Okay, we try to be very, very thorough, line upon line, precept upon precept of all the prophecies, everything we share. But it's very important that you understand this. If any of you that were kind of marking down this date of when this will be, it'd be in a couple weeks from now, but it's the 11th year. It is the 11th year. It says the third month in the first day of the month. Okay, so that's going to be in like 2 weeks. Okay, so guys, I hope that's clear on who is the Assyrian. Now, we did know back then, okay, that the Assyrian would lose his dominion, or he would have a humbling experience. Now, the first was like a lion. It had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand on his feet. Now, we can see later on that verse 17, these great beasts which are four kings, which shall rise out of the earth. That's the interpretation of these four. So these would be beasts. And these beasts would be actual kings. They would be actual people. And one of the places we can find the interpretation of them, there's several places, guys, but one of them is in Isaiah 11:6. I want to read a little bit of this for each one of these beasts, because we can find out more information here and in Revelation 13. Okay, so the first one is a lion. And I want you to notice here, it says, a lion shall eat straw like an ox. Now this parable in Isaiah 11 has to do with these beasts. Now this one is telling us about Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar was made to eat straw like an ox. Okay, so when it says the lion shall eat straw like an ox, that's telling us about Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, and then we see here the Nebuchadnezzar was on 4 legs eating grass like an ox. But here you can see the lion is made to stand upon his feet like a man. That means he also was on 4 legs, and a man's heart was given to it. And again, Nebuchadnezzar, he was given the heart of an ox, okay, and for 7 years. So the person that is this king, which is Donald Trump, he's going to have his wings plucked. In Revelation, it says he's going to continue for a short space, and a man's heart was given unto it. So he's going to have a humbling experience like Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar's experience was 7 years. 7 times, okay? So we were watching for that humbling experience, and we saw the lion had the wings of an eagle plucked, and we shared in previous videos, as well as the little horn had his dominion taken away, okay? So in that was the tree that we could see in Ezekiel 31. At the very point when this Abaddon, this little horn, take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. Okay, guys, I hope that's clear about the prophecy in Ezekiel. And we do still ascribe all the other details of the prophecy to Obama, okay, being this leopard, fulfilling this goat role. Okay, he had all those important prophecies. Now, let's look at Daniel's timeline real quick and show you the importance and significance of why there has to be a forerunner. Now, we're looking at Daniel's timeline, okay, we can see the questions relating to very significant things. Now, in order to interpret it, and we look at the 4 questions and 2 answers, you'll see that unto 2,300 days, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed. Okay, so unto 2,300 days and evenings, or evenings and mornings. Okay, so those are days. And the interpretation is the host trodden, one of the questions, this happens twice. Once at Armageddon at the end, and another time to trigger 790 days before the start of the tribulation. So what that means is there has to be two figures, little horn figures, okay? So for example, you can see in green, this is the 2,520 days. You can see right here, okay? Then what you have is it's evenings and mornings. These have to be precise days. So there you can see 2,300. Now, at the end is the host trodden, okay? So here you can see 2,300 days. Now, this happens twice, okay? So the other time it happens, you can see it right here, but it's reversed. See, this is the host trodden here. Now you flip it over. Now the host trodden is here, and the 2,300 is here, okay? And what is that? That is a trigger event. So that means that there's a host trodden, there's a prophecy related to the little horn that happens to tell us the start of the tribulation. Okay, so that 2,300 days, okay, gives us a trigger event that we will watch for until the 790 days, and then this is where the tribulation starts. Okay, so yes, the forerunner Pharaoh figure would have been on the scene in this time, okay, and then the Antichrist is revealed in the 7 years, the 2,520 days, okay? So I hope that's clear on how it's very, very important that this little horn figure, there's two of them because there's two hosts trodden. Thus, there's two lengths of time of 2,300 days. So we said to watch for a trigger event on the 9th of Av, which was July 25th, 2015. The same date Obama gave his speech in Kenya talking about the sacrifices in Michigan. We saw the Baphomet statue, satyr goat, displayed in Detroit, Michigan on that precise date, triggering 790 days to the tribulation. So Obama did have a role as this Pharaoh forerunner little horn. But we're making it clear that the prophecy in Ezekiel 31, as it relates to a date, the first day of the 3rd month, we are not attributing it to his death. Reason being is the tree there is not Obama. It is the Antichrist, okay? It is the Assyrian, and it's not an actual date of his death. It is the halfway point of his 42 months. Okay? So guys, we will stand before the white throne judgment and give account of every idle word spoken. So every word and prophecy on this channel, we want to make everything as clear as possible. Obama had a role. He still is the Pharaoh, okay? But we're not ascribing a date of death according to Ezekiel 31. We hope that's clear. We have many other videos to explain the prophecies of what Obama's role was as the little horn of Daniel chapter 8. And we have a whole playlist, of course, on Trump is the Antichrist. So, guys, thanks for watching. And there will be links in the description field for all of the playlists. Thank you. God bless you.